Let me ask you something. If liberty can be taken away by calling you the wrong name, was it ever liberty? Because that's what we're watching happen in real time. The claim that non citizens don't deserve due process isn't just unconstitutional, it's anti Enlightenment. It's a betrayal of the entire philosophical structure that underpins any society pretending to be free. Let's break this down, not with slogans, not with fear, but with reason. The Enlightenment was never about borders. It wasn't about national identity. It was about the person, the individual, the human being. It said, your rights don't come from a king or a document or a government. They come from the simple, irreducible fact that you are alive and thinking. That is the origin of due process. Due process is not a reward for citizenship. It's a constraint on power. It says, before the state acts upon your body, before it takes your freedom, before it deports you, imprisons you, or destroys your future, it must justify itself publicly, transparently, rationally. That's the whole game. That's the contract. Without it, liberty becomes permission, a favor, a license, and licenses can be revoked. So when Trump claims that non-citizens don't deserve due process, he's not enforcing the law. He's re-engineering the definition of personhood. And here's the danger. Once you normalize that, once some people don't get rights, you give the state the power to decide who those people are. Today, it's the undocumented. Tomorrow, it's the dissident. Next year, it's you. The Enlightenment didn't rise from comfort. It rose from fear, from monarchies that disappeared people in the night, from inquisitions that tortured the accused in secret, from empires that ruled by divine right and gave no explanation to those they crushed. And the Enlightenment said, no more. It gave us habeas corpus. It gave us equal protection. It gave us the idea that no power, no matter how grand or self-righteous, can act against a person without evidence, without justification, without limits. That's not idealism. That's civilization. And now we're watching it decay, because here's what happens when you strip due process from one group. You don't just remove their rights. You remove everyone's safety. You turn justice into a machine that can erase you with a label. Imagine this. You get pulled over. They say your documents are suspicious. Maybe your name matches someone else's. Maybe the algorithm glitched. Suddenly, you're flagged. Not a citizen. No rights. No lawyer. No trial. Just an accusation and silence. And if the system doesn't owe you due process, how do you prove anything? How do you prove you belong? You don't. Because by then, you've already stopped being a person in the eyes of the law. You become a classification, a data point, a mistake. And that is the death of liberty, because liberty is not just a matter of access. It's a matter of recognition. It is the principle that your dignity cannot be revoked because of where you were born, what language you speak, or what papers you carry. It is the belief that no state has the right to erase your humanity for the sake of convenience. The Enlightenment understood this, but the axis of endarkenment does not. It sees people as units, as problems to be managed, as populations to be categorized and controlled. And once you let that logic in, once you accept that liberty is for citizens only, you've already lost the republic. Not with a coup, not with a war, but with a shrug. Because if your rights are conditional, they're not rights. They're merely privileges, and no civilization can survive on privileges alone, because privileges can be revoked at will, without warning, without justification, and without recourse. And a society built on revocable permission is not a society at all. It's a prison with nicer furniture. So let me be clear. The The Constitution says person, not citizen. The Enlightenment says human, not native. And liberty means nothing, nothing if it doesn't protect the very people you're most afraid of. That is the test. That is the line. And if we don't hold it now, we won't be able to hold anything. Because if the government can erase someone's humanity by changing their label, then no one is free. Liberty is not a brand. It is not a privilege. It is the birthright of every thinking, breathing, feeling human being. And if we ever forget that, we deserve the collapse that follows.